This is the Irish Rally Podcast, brought to you in association with Tech and Tools, your dedicated tools provider focusing on diagnostic test equipment and specialised tools. Visit techandtools.ie for more information, and SVS Productions.
Hello and welcome to The Whole Person, a podcast by the Irish Rally Podcast, and it's all about life beyond the stages. I feel very lucky to be here and to be able to combine two of my biggest passions and greatest joys in life: conversation and rallying. Rallying is a particular type of sport, and the people that love rallying are a very particular type of people. It doesn't matter if you're a marshal, an organizer or a competitor. The dedication and the passion that this community has is such a powerful thing, and I know that all sports are so passionate and so dedicated, but there's just something particularly intense about rallying, and I'm just so curious about it and I want to know more. We're going to hear their stories from their perspective in their own words, and this is something that I'm incredibly excited about. I've chosen and thoughtfully and carefully chosen to not give these people an introduction, and not because they don't deserve it, because they absolutely do. The achievements and the accomplishments that these people have got behind their names at this point is absolutely incredible, but I want to hear their story in their words. I want to hear all the things that they have done and the things that they haven't done and who they are from their perspective. I just simply want to thank you for being here, and I truly hope that you enjoy listening. So hello to Donagh Kelly. Welcome to The Whole Person by the Irish Rally Podcast, and thank you so much for being here with us today and taking the time to chat.
Happy to be here. This will be a little different, but sure, we'll see.
A wee bit different. We're delighted to have you now, to be fair. Now, this most certainly is a rally podcast for sure. We've spoken about it. But as the name suggests, it's about getting to know you, the whole person, and life beyond the stages. So for that reason, I have thoughtfully decided to not give a formal introduction and to just go down a simpler road. So with that being said, we'll start with the basics, the early years. Can you tell us a wee bit about your childhood or what a young Donagh Kelly was like?
Rather boring, I would have said. I grew up just outside Donegal town. And my dad was a builder and my mum was a teacher. I was the second of four, two sisters and a brother. And again, I think like any kid growing up in the 70s and 80s, we had a brilliant time, and there was no big expectations from life, and no foreign holidays or anything fancy, but great wholesome childhood, and couldn't have wanted for anything more, so certainly for me we had a great start in life, a great foundation. And I suppose with a mum being a teacher pushing us to look after our education was always something that was first and foremost growing up. And with dad being a builder, we spent a lot of time, myself and my brother, out on building sites from a very, very early age. So I think we had a good work ethic, and combined with I suppose the value of some education. I think that gave me certainly a foundation to go and get a further education. And when I left the Abbey Vocational School, I think it was in '89, I went to Bolton Street and I studied quantity surveying there, and I wasn't a good student at all. I failed my first 2 years in college. Discovered women and drink all at the same time, and couldn't handle either. And the distractions were too great, and cost me a bit of time. But after a while, we got we got the head down and managed to recover the situation, you know. So yeah, so I'm a quantity surveyor by trade, but never really used it that much.
And I mean, you know, the first thing you said was it was quite boring. It was the word that kind of stuck out at me. But to be honest with you, the other word was wholesome, and it certainly strikes me as a beautiful, you know, close-knit family upbringing. And for me, I suppose what kind of sticks out for me is, you know, maybe the sort of the steadiness and the focus that having a teacher as a parent would give, but also, you know, having sort of your eyes opened with a dad as an entrepreneur, but also a builder. You know, that's very dedicated and hardworking. You know, that obviously set up a beautiful foundation, Donagh, in terms of business and rallying.
Yeah, I think my dad certainly had the entrepreneurial spirit, and probably just was in the wrong era to have made, let's say, a financial gain from that. He had a lot of wins in many different ways. I suppose you know, success should never be gauged in terms of a bank balance, you know. So yeah, but I think it certainly gave me kind of just a bit of a hunger for that business type world, you know, and the whole thing of doing deals and that. And then we had, I suppose, locally, we had guys like Joe Kelly, who had his garage empire and his hotels and various other businesses that, you know, as a kid you looked at and you were just intrigued by the success of others. And my other cousins had the Opel garage next door to us at home as well. And, you know, business was just always something that I was very inquisitive about, and I wanted to know how it worked and how people made money. And yeah, so it was something, I don't know, just I think it was naturally in there, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, you said the first 2 years of college were a wee bit tricky, and there was a wee bit of distraction there, but at the same time, you know, sitting in that kind of formal educational setting, quite difficult whenever you've just laid out all of the hands-on skills that you've just talked about there.
Yeah, here, look, I think education it's great in many ways, and in other ways it's, you know, it's nice to have. We look in our own business at people that have come up through the ranks, and some have no education, some may not even have a leaving cert, and could be the best managers that we have. But I do think, you know, if you've two people of equal ability in front of you and one has a qualification, you're more likely to run with that person as opposed to the person that doesn't, you know. So yeah, it's a differentiator, I think, but it's not, for me, it's not, it doesn't mean everything, you know. We have some of the most educated in our business as well, and when it comes to common sense, they could have a fair old gap in the toolkit, you know. So,
and obviously that's where you differed, though, because I mean, if you were able to leave the college scenario and become what and who you have become, even never mind rallying, but in the business world alone, you know, like, common sense is a very, very important thing.
Yeah, it's not that common, but it's yeah, people who can just think logically about different scenarios and that. And so I probably find the biggest challenge in business is egos. People that can't get out of their own way, you know, and things not progressing because people have big egos and can't see beyond their own limitations, you know. And I think that's such a big challenge when you're in a business, you know. And you always have to try and find new talent, new ability to reinforce your capability, you know. And sometimes getting people to move sideways and let others up sometimes can be very, very painful, you know. So
yeah. And have you ever figured that out? Have you ever figured out how to get through the difficult egos?
it's part of management, you know, and it's the art of management, trying to manage people. You know, there isn't any set formula, you know, and some people need to be at times moved. You know, if you have somebody in a role and they're not fit for the role, that's your fault. That's not their fault.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't have a suitable role for them in your business, well, then you need to move them on out of your business, because it's not good for them and it's not good for you. It creates frustration for both parties, you know. So I learned that pretty quick, you know, and a bit of advice I was given years ago is, when you have a situation like that, be generous, write a good big check, and let somebody out of your business with their dignity and I suppose their head held high, and let them on to something else and look to see, can you replace them. And at times it could take you 2 or 3 goes to get the right person. Leaving the wrong person in a position, that is definitely fatal. That's a known goal.
And I mean, obviously it's one of those things that to have an awareness of the ego at all is quite a big thing. I would imagine in any industry, but when you're at the top of the game, whether it be rallying or business, like, to be aware of ego means to be aware of your own. And so you must obviously have a very acute awareness of your own strengths and weaknesses as well.
Hey, you're asking if I got a big ego?
No, I'm kind of asking how we all, I think anybody that rallies must have an ego or a belief in themselves that is so much different to the ordinary person. So
I think,
you know, you have to learn to control it at some point. It is your friend, because it's the thing that gets you to be able to do things that I suppose other people around you haven't done or can't do. But you absolutely have to be able to learn to control it at some point in your life. Yeah,
I think that you know, ego. Some people, when you even use the word ego, people get hijacked to say, "Oh, I don't have an ego." But you're right. Your ego is important, because you have to care about yourself. You have to have some pride in yourself. You have to have some way of, I suppose, rewarding yourself for achieving something, you know. And I would say, you know, that it's always important to have an ego. If you need a billboard at the end of the street to tell everybody how great you are, that's a problem. That's when your ego becomes so much of a driver that it overtakes you, you know. So, and we do see some people that the ego is more important than anything. I think, you know, in work, I would like to think, it doesn't always happen, but that everybody has equal status, irrespective of pay grade, terms and conditions, or the size of the car they drive. You know, and having that approach where everybody is equal, in the truest sense, everybody has the same, I suppose, right to respect and all those basic needs. That just because you're the boss, you don't deserve it to be treated any different to the janitor. You can't, you know. And so for me, your ego's important, but not when it ranks above some of those basic needs of, you know, respect, humility, etc. You know, they're key.
And it's funny, like, it's to echo that as well, where when I've been in therapy for years now, I find it's kind of one of the most interesting and satisfying things I've ever done, you know. And when I went first, I had an awful lot of kind of shame about my ego, you know, because I was finished rallying, I suppose, at that point, maybe a couple of years. And I remember saying to my therapist, like, I have to get rid of this ego. Like, it's pushing me in ways that I can't settle because of my ego. And always remember him pointing out, he was like, you know, Tony, an ego always needs to be tamed, and you need to be aware of it, and it can't control you, yes, but you also have to be now I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, you know, you also have to be grateful for your ego, because it is the thing that pushes you to do things that others haven't done before. You know, that strong belief in yourself or the project or the thing that you're doing. And so the ego is very, very helpful, but it's when I suppose it gets in the way. Like, and in terms of rallying, you know, to be able to rally, I think there has to be an ego there of some description.
Yeah. I was laughing that I was doing a talk in one of our offices in Scotland one day and mentioned about egos, and somebody piped up and said, "There's no egos here." I said, "We look out the window, look at our car park." I said, "Every second car has got a personalised registration on it." I said, "So you either forget where you park your car and you need some kind of a reminder that that is your car, or else you're actually happy to tell people this is my car." And I said, that is a small celebration of what you've achieved, the fact that you drive a nice car and you're happy to have your personalised plate on it. I said, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to celebrate, for sure. You know, I said, but we all need to have a bit of an ego, you know, and it's it's something that gives you purpose. You know, it's something that it's an identity as well as a driver. You know, so I think it's hugely important. But like you say, you have to tame it. It can't be if you feel that, you know, you are the man, you're definitely not. And if you feel you have arrived, you've left. You know, it's you're never there. You know, so we can't let it overtake us ever.
Exactly. Never a truer word spoken. And so if we go back to the college years then, and, you know, going back over childhood and stuff, Donagh, where did rallying come into it for you? How did you get involved in the sport in the first place?
Well, I do tell the story about watching the 78 Donegal rally up at Killymard Chapel. And that was my first rally where it was very local. And I went there with my uncle, and I think my dad was there. And obviously it was Ari Vatanen was the hero of the moment back then. And I suppose I was just absolutely mesmerized. I was in awe of this, and my dad used to take us to the Donegal rally every year, and that was our annual trip, because there was no rallying in the house. My dad had no interest in rallying. He was into traditional Irish music, and used to get to go on the Sunday. And I also remember in '83 when Vincent won the rally. We were down the Port Road, and my father was speaking to him, and I couldn't believe my dad knew Vincent Bonner. It was like he might as well have been speaking to the Pope, you know. And I thought this was just unreal. And those, I suppose, those memories just lit this fire that was going to be there for forever, you know. And I suppose with the fact that we didn't grow up in a rallying household, and that we're probably limited a little bit as to the exposure. My brother was equally as crazy about rallying, and so when we got to get on the road ourselves and go and spectate in more and more rallies, the whole desire of getting to compete in a rally would start to become more and more a kind of a reality. And we had old cars, and we used to run around fields and all that type of stuff that most kids did back then. And I was very late. I was 24 years of age before I got into a rally car, because I just didn't have the money. I didn't have the means to go rallying, and I actually borrowed the money to buy my first rally car, and it was only $2.5 grand, but I didn't have it, so I had to borrow it. That initial couple of years, it was really a learning process. I done my first rally on road tires in a Vauxhall Nova. And this guy had said to me in service, what was I at? And he gave me two old TB15s to put on the front of the car. And it was like a Mark II Escort for the rest of the event, the back of it sliding around, you know. But it's so, and to get to rally, and I came back from Scotland in '96 to do Donegal. It was my first Donegal rally. It was the 25th anniversary, I think, back then. And what you couldn't describe just that feeling. Like, it's just
Yeah.
every dream. It's just, you were just like a kid.
Yeah.
You just, every moment from the recce right through the whole way, it was just like, my God,
I know.
and so, and to get that opportunity, probably I was lost on me then, as much as I was enjoying it to that level. It was a huge thing. But later on, when I had some success in business and I could go rallying at the top level, because I never in my wildest dreams ever thought that I would get to compete at that level in the country, and I never thought that I would win rallies. It just never really registered. But when I did start to compete at that level, and when you started to win some of the internationals and the likes, like I was so grateful. It's just to get that opportunity in life, because not everybody does, and there's far better drivers than me out there that if they were given the opportunity, they would have huge success. So to get that opportunity, it's just like you're the luckiest guy in the world, and really, really living it and loving it. Some people would say to me, do you not miss when you're back in the Novas and the Club Mondays and all that? Not a chance. To be able to drive a World Rally car on the greatest stages in Ireland, it doesn't get better than that. And I got more enjoyment out of driving in the likes of the World Car and that than I ever got in an Nova. As much as it was great fun.
Yeah.
But just to be out the front and it's just like this class. So from starting in an Nova the whole way through, I suppose I would have said I could have achieved a lot more in rallying if I was that bothered about it. As much as I loved it, it wasn't life or death for me. I would never put a whole lot on the line to get to go rallying. I think in my early days, certainly I probably had borrowed a couple of quid and that, but it was never dramatic. It was never, that you couldn't pay the mortgage because you spent it all on rallying. But certainly there was many a car sold at times, when the business needed some money or whatever. So it was never a big enough driver for me to forfeit, I suppose, business and the likes, So I always thought I could have, if I'd have been at the top level in my 30s, I think I could have won a lot more. But I didn't get into a world car till I was in my early 40s. So.
And it's one of those things, isn't it, where I often wonder, this is what I do wonder with rallying, that I feel like it's very, very hard to get the middle ground with it, and it has to be one or the other. And so if you did go hell for leather in your 20s or your 30s at rallying, do you think your business would have gone where it went?
Probably not. It's when you grow a business, it takes everything, and for me, there's never a choice, because I was always focused on the business side, and rallying fitted in when it could, and for me, if my business was struggling, I couldn't get my head into rallying anyway, so the business always took priority. And I look at it and I see some people that really push themselves and maybe overextend themselves in terms of getting rallying, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to really, really remember you for your rallying achievements. They won't. So I would say, be careful just how much you push the rallying dream, because there's not a whole lot at the end of it apart from great memories.
And that's the thing, particularly in Ireland, and I think, to be honest with you, in most countries in the world, but particularly where we are, we have some of the best rallies and stages in the world, and we have such an unbelievable cohort of people and cars and stuff. But as you say, there's not much there. Like, it's not like other sports where you get, you know, money at the end of it and you can kind of keep building. There's very little. I mean, there's a few awards out there for sure. You know, things like the Billy Coleman and stuff, but like, it's very few people can get their hands on that stuff. So it's a funny sport in that way.
Tough sport, but motorsport really has always been like that. You know, it's a sport for kings in one sense at the top level. You know, you really do have to have the stars aligned to get to the top. You know, when you look at the World Rally Championship, there's probably, I don't know, 7-8 drivers that are paid to do what they do, and everybody else is trying to get their jobs so they can get paid. You know, and that's tough. You know, you know. So it's a great sport, and I think it's very, very healthy in Ireland, and we are in a very, very fortunate position compared to some other countries. If you look at rallying in the UK compared to Ireland, like, we are just light years ahead in terms of the events, the interest, with John Coyne and the Rally Academy now. The work they are doing is unreal. And we've been pushing the guys to try and maybe educate the wider rallying community just about how much work they do. And I think if we look at last weekend's J1000 series in Killarney, huge entry, and that's what we need to be concentrating on. And I suppose in one sense they are the cohort that need the promotion. They're the guys that need to be on the podcast. They're the guys that need to be talking about their ambition, their dreams for the future. You know, you know, and so we're lucky in Ireland, but at the same time, we have to be realistic. You know, you have to be realistic about just how far you want to push it, because there's a long road to the top, and it's very, very costly if you want to get there. And but that's not to say that people shouldn't have a dream either, because somebody has to get there. But I think you just have to be realistic.
And I mean, when you talk about you know, the Motorsport Ireland Academy and stuff like that now, do you feel that is particularly, you know, close to your heart? Because, you know, say for somebody like you who didn't have a direct path into rallying, you didn't grow up with it per se, you know, you went to one event a year that kind of half of the county went to, so there was no, it would have been very difficult for you to take the steps, and it took a long time for you probably to be able to afford to kind of get the help that was needed or whatever. So do you think, you know, are you sort of drawn to the likes of the MI Academy because it's one of those things where the earlier you can get that knowledge, the earlier you can get that information and help, the easier and better it can be? Yeah,
I think it's there's a lot of different facades. You know, if you look at the likes of the J1000, you're getting guys in it, or guys or girls in it at a very, very young age to be able to compete. You know, so you're building this foundation, because if you look at the likes of any sport, they talk about the 10,000 hour rule. You know, you need a minimum of 10,000 hours of doing something to be able to do it good. And if you look at guys at the top, like Kelly Robin-Pera, you know, he was driving cars when he was very, very young. Same with Oliver Solberg, etc. The earlier you start, the more likely you are to be successful. And you can't buy years. You can't, you know, guy starts at 14, the guy starts at 20. Well, that's 6 years. You can't buy that. That's, you know, and obviously at a younger age, you learn quicker, you're more adaptable, you know, and I think it's creating that pathway is one part. But then the academy itself, even for the more mature drivers, like my own son, Eamon, that are involved in it, like, they are getting so much attention in around, you know, fitness, nutrition, even the coaching, mental resilience, and, you know, all those elements that you need when you compete at a high level. You know, so I think what the academy will do, it will lift the standard of rallying in the country itself, but it will allow those few that get the opportunity to compete at an international level. So I think it's huge work, and, you know, John Coyne has to be commended for what he's doing, because he is the guy that is, not alone has he put in money into this, he is putting so much time, passion and energy into it, along with the wider team, Sean McHugh, etc. The guys are really doing a stellar job, and they are the envy of many other countries.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me, what you've just been talking about strikes me as the most important thing. You said that, you mentioned that, like, there's not that far you can go when it comes to rallying. There is an end point, whether it be winning your favorite rally or, winning a championship or whatever. But it's the likes of this work that is your legacy. That's what's the important thing. What can I do to pass on and to share what I have learned to the younger generation that maybe will be able to change the sport for the better in different ways?
Yeah, and I suppose in my own regard, or in my own sense, I built the museum here in Donegal over the last few years. We've been collecting for a long time, but part of the whole thing of having some of these iconic cars and that, because I'm not a dealer. I don't buy and sell cars to make money. It is really a passion, and for me, it's about telling a story. It's about telling a story of rallying and the history of rallying, and to create that. I suppose I wouldn't refer to it as legacy, but you're creating that kind of bookmark, or this kind of library where people can come and experience what happened, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, to all the different eras. And you get some fun out of watching, especially some of the older guys, hunting through programs, trying to find themselves in entry lists from 40 years ago. And being delighted and showing everybody, and, or finding themselves on a photograph on the wall or whatever. And, so for me, it's about kind of preserving the past, but also keep building the story from decade to decade, so that it'll be there for the future, and I think it's really, really important to try and capture that, and that we don't lose it. And that's a little bit of an argument that we're having at the moment around the whole thing of streaming, and when we all waited for RPM on a Thursday night at 11:30, whatever, for years, and then obviously to McBracken, etc. We're moving now more to the digital era. Everybody wants to watch something real time, but that's it. It's gone. It's gone. We but if we want to capture those memories, we must look at preserving that. I have that little bit of a debate at the moment. How are we going to do that? We need to do a little better than we're doing, I think, because if you look at also a streaming service, the only people that will look at a streaming service are those who want to look at it.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a program on TV, half the households in Ireland will see it just by default.
Yeah.
And some will choose to continue to watch it as opposed to switch over to the next channel. Whereas those who want to watch a rally live, whether it be Killian Duffy or Christopher Hyland's company or whatever, if you want to watch it, you tune in. That's your audience. You really limit your audience, but you don't capture those events for the future, because I bought the RPM backlog, and it's great. They put them out on a regular basis for viewing. There won't be a backlog from this era. There'll be nowhere unless somebody wants to hunt through YouTube and try and find something. So I think there's little bits like that too that we just need to tune into and think about the future.
Well, it's all there. And I mean, I think you're making a great point in the sense that to have a physical database of all of these events and all of this competition and all of these moments in people's lives is a very, very important thing, and to be able to do it well is a great thing. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think there's not there's not one person in the country that kind of wouldn't recognise Plum Tyndall's voice in some way. And it's just one of those things where it's such a hard time technology wise to, you know, make sure that you're moving fast enough for what people want, but at the same time preserving the history of things as well, as you say. Like, and it's just, it all has to be done and thought about so intricately and carefully.
There's a balance in it, but you know, I suppose that's where we've got just to be mindful, you know, that you will have everything up to the I suppose the kind of the mid 2015, 2016 all cut, and since that then you're starting to go into this more live world where it's great, but I would like to see how we capture some of that content so that it's there for the future, you know. So
and be able to do both. And I mean, obviously, you know, you're speaking so passionately about it, but that clearly is the drive behind the museum and the purpose of having Stables Museum there.
Yeah, look, I get such a buzz out of it, and it really has become a bit of a talking point. You know, I was in Sweden with Eamon a couple of weeks ago, and there's not a team on the World Rally calendar or championship that don't know about it at this stage. You know, and we're hoping that the Toyota guys are going to come over in a couple of weeks for a few days because they're interested. They're interested in the whole concept. What you find with all these guys in the World Rally Championship, they're all petrol heads. They're all the same as everybody else. They just are lucky that are getting paid to drive the cars, you know. And but they're all petrol heads at heart, you know, and are really, really interested in what you've done, you know. And so widening that out for me is important. I've actually sponsored the Donegal ladies team under the Stables kind of brand for the next couple of years, and I have had some schools here, and when we run days we get some of the local football teams and that to do a bit of marshalling and that, and they gather a few pounds for their own clubs and that, you know. And it's a community type approach as well, but also it is kind of capturing just the essence of rallying, because you could easily lose it, you know. And I talk about the likes of the Circuit of Ireland, you know, one of the oldest, one of the most iconic events in rallying history, and it's gone. You know, it's not a Circuit of Ireland anymore. We look at the RAC rally in the UK, which became Rally GB. It's gone, you know, and they will possibly struggle to get a World Rally back in the UK. So you have to preserve the sport. If the most iconic events in the world can disappear, that tells you what can happen, you know. And if the UK don't really put some energy into their rallying over the coming years, they could also have a tough challenge, you know. So I think it's really important that we do that, and also, you know, to try and bring fresh faces to the sport, you know, because we lack a lot of youth from an organisation point of view. We have plenty who want to compete, but we need a lot of support to allow people to compete. But we've got to make it interesting. You know, we've got to make it interesting for people. And that goes back then to maybe a point in the business side, you know, where we talk about this thing of, you know, respect, that everybody in the sport understands the interdependencies we have on each other. And that is, we need marshals, we need timekeepers, we need rescue services, we need all these, but we also need competitors. And we need their entry fees, and we need the community. And when you bring the thing together and you go back to that core, I suppose, belief, everybody's equal. Just because you're a competitor or a marshal, we're all equal. You know, and I think at times some of the supporters or some of the kind of volunteers get a little bit frustrated that we don't seem to show them the level of respect that they do deserve, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then we get it back sometimes the other way, where some of the organisers and officials may not respect the competitors, and that. And just everybody needs to have kind of a common a kind of code where, you know, that's the most basic need in any walk of life.
Yeah.
You know.
I think so. I mean, I think that is the most basic of, you know, mottos a person should have, is that, you know, there's no job or role that is any less or any more important than the other, because without one, the other doesn't work.
Absolutely.
You know, and without each of those individuals doing their job to the best of their ability, the whole thing could fall apart very easily. And as you say, it just needs to be recognized. Like, and I think, to be fair, I think that is starting to happen a little bit more. Like, I think that, you know, competitors deserve glory, of course. But I think in the last couple of years, I feel it anyway, like there's been a big awareness brought around to the fact that, like, not all the glory should be going to competitors solely. Yes, competitors deserve glory and kudos for the dedication that they put in, but, like, as you say, like, you know, if you go to any stage before it runs on a day, like, especially if it's the first stage of the day, like, you will have people on that stage from all hours of the night out getting it ready, taping it, putting bales up, you know. Rallies are being organised for months before the actual event takes place and stuff. So it is vital that every person gets their moment of gratitude, essentially, and, as you say, respect.
Yeah. It is. It's not just that. Because when you hear people shouting at each other and all that, it's a little bit disheartening, you know. But that there are challenges in every sport. You see all the various campaigns that are run, whether it is, you know, I suppose racial inequality and the likes being stamped out, you know, and all these things. They're important, you know, and we've got to play our part in upping the standards, you know, just not allowing it to happen, you know, and chastising those who kind of step outside the boundaries, you know, and just say that's not good enough, you know, and when you have a common code that everybody buys into, well, those who step outside it look a little bit daft, you know. So
exactly. And to go back to stables again, I mean, to be able to do such magnificent work in the middle of Donegal, and to have such an unbelievable quality of machinery there, and, you know, such a professional outfit as a whole, to do that in the middle of Donegal is just so incredible. And it obviously speaks to your love of the county and your sort of love of home, and probably even the event that sort of sparked it all whenever you were a young boy outside Killymard.
Yeah, I suppose it was a bit surreal, really, to have Ari come over to open it for me, and the fact that, you know, when I went back to my childhood, he was a big name. I didn't even know what he looked like. So, yeah, and that's, I suppose, they're the bits of this whole journey of life that you pinch yourself sometimes, you know, when you go, Jesus, is this really happening, you know? So, so yeah, very, very fortunate, and yeah, it's just been a real honor to be able to do it, you know, and then to be able to get the various memorabilia and the cars and all the stuff that makes it what it is. And we're not finished, you know. I don't think we'll ever be finished. We're always thinking of the next phase of the story and the whole project, and it's become a bit of like a focal point for many events and you know, gatherings, and there's lots of people coming all the time, and we do our best to facilitate when we can. And people keep asking, would I open it to the public? And Right now, no, because I think there's a sense of intrigue. The fact that you either have to be invited or asked or get you're there some way, whether it's an open day or whatever. So it makes it a little bit more special.
Absolutely.
And again, we do our best to have as many open days as we can, and then the people coming every weekend, and we'll always try and find somebody to open up. But I do think that it's a little bit more interesting like that, and we try our best to keep as much of it off social media, because again, it's not about, everybody knows about all the cars and that. It's not that I don't want people to know, but I want it to be special for those who arrive and don't know what to expect or don't. And a lot of people get such a wow factor, especially when they go into the main hall. It's like, Jesus, this is unreal. And that's what you want to create, So it's not a case of somebody just wanted to come to do, again, some form of podcast, but wanted to record all the cars. And I said, absolutely not. That's, you're removing, the whole intrigue, So
I think as well, Donagh, what makes it so special is the fact that you don't see it everywhere, and you can't just hop onto Instagram or wherever and see a pile of pictures, because it takes away the magic. There's such a special thing to actually walking into a room and being there real life and seeing and feeling and smelling and literally having every texture of the story that is right in front of you. That's totally different than scrolling through Instagram or Facebook.
And there's so many that have been there and said, some see nothing but cars and others see everything bar the cars. And you really would need days. You would need days to go through everything that's there. There are boxes and boxes and drawers of photographs and programs and results, and and there's videos and race suits, and there's just so much stuff. There's thousands of photographs, so it really would take time, and when people are in for an open day when it's busy, sometimes they don't get that. So we've had various diehards who have come and spent their own quiet time there going through everything, And the one thing I'd say too about the hardcore rally fan, you trust them. Absolutely. You trust them that, you leave them in there on their own, and you wouldn't be worried about, are they going to take something, So that's the other thing that's nice about having it kind of more for the fan as opposed to the general public. You don't have to worry. I don't worry about people taking something from a display or anything.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's such a. I've spoken about this many times before, but particularly with this podcast, I feel like there is a difference between, a normal person and a rally person, whether it be a competitor, fan, organizer, part of any team that makes a rally happen. Genuinely, I feel like people that are rally people are just a different breed. It's like not that I have never been able to describe it before, and that is kind of actually the whole idea of this podcast, is to try and figure out the minds of these people, to figure out the minds of all of us, because it's such a powerful sport, and as you say, the trust that you would have with a rally fan, we are all, it doesn't matter where you are when you go to an event, when you meet, people that are rally people, there's just such a different feeling. It's just, there's such a camaraderie within the sport that's unbelievable, and majority of the time there actually is a great feeling of everybody is on the same level and everybody does kind of respect each other on the whole. Maybe not every single part of it, but most of the way through, that camaraderie and level of respect is there.
Yeah, and I think, there's always been different, I would say, rivalries over the years and different battles, etc. But after the racing was done, I think generally There was lots of friendships that weren't seen on the stages, but absolutely existed off the stages, you know. And I think, the sport, nobody would ever want to win, I suppose, in the incorrect manner. I'm not saying that people didn't bend rules or have some bit of colour in their events in the past. But also that is part of the fun too, you know. But at the same time, I think that there was good honesty in nearly every competition, you know, and that it can't be said for all sports, but I certainly think rallying has a relatively level playing field in that regard, you know.
And it is a beautiful thing to see and be a part of.
Yeah, here, look, it just becomes part of your DNA, it becomes part of your life, and it's it's a little expensive, but it certainly has its rewards. So, but then there's a lot of sports, I suppose, you are also involved in supporting the GAA and the likes. The dedication commitment that we get from our county players and the likes, you know, whether it's the ladies or the men's football and hurling and the likes. These athletes lay down the best part of 15 years of their lives for their country, and that there again, that's another breed, and again, that's huge commitment as well. They may not have the financial commitment of spending money. They have huge financial sacrifices in terms of putting careers on hold, etc., to maintain, I suppose a sporting dream, and generally driven too by the love of their county, you know. So it's rallying is very, very unique. So,
and have you been able to figure out how rallying has impacted your life? I mean, you mentioned friendships there, and obviously you've had some incredible successes, whether it be the Group N car or the WRC days when, you know, you won both championships in the 1 year and stuff. Like, those are all huge moments, but are there, you know, have you ever been able to figure out on the whole how rallying has impacted your life?
I don't know. I suppose it's when you live a dream. Yeah, I suppose you feel extremely fortunate. You know, you really do. You're living a dream. You're living something that you dreamed about as a kid, and then you get to live it. So you feel just and back that you feel the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah. Do you feel like you carry that wee I don't know what age you were, but you know, that wee version of Donagh that was with you in 1979? I keep going back to Killymarg, but that first moment that the fire was lit inside of you, do you think he's always there, whether you're sitting around there yourself? Or I
think the memory's always there, you know. Yeah, definitely. The memory is there forever. It was the spark. In your life, you'll always have these moments, these indelible moments that will always be there, and that's one of mine, you know. So my mother forcing me to eat turnips one day is another one. So a little bit different.
Shaped you, I'm sure, though it shaped you into some version of what you are now. It
shaped me all right. I hate turnips still.
Ever since.
So, but I suppose it gives an element of identity. You know, I wouldn't. You know, I suppose in my business world, most people would know that I rally. You know, so it has created an element of identity. Well, most people think you're crazy that you do rally. They don't understand the desire to hurtle down a road at what they see as being extremely dangerous. You know, and I think that's another thing with rally drivers. None of us think that it's actually dangerous. We understand. We understand the danger, but we don't think it's dangerous. You know, and And we've all been close to those that have had bad injuries, and unfortunate for those that have lost their lives to the sport. And I was extremely lucky in 2000. I nearly killed myself in the Harvest Rally, and really, really lucky to survive it. But I wasn't bothered. I was wondering how soon would I get back into the car to get driving again, because it didn't really bother me. There's an inconvenience, and so you do think a little bit different. And people would say to me about Eamon rallying, would I not worry about him getting hurt? And I say I much prefer him to live his life and live the dream than to sit at home wondering what it would have been like. And as much as I certainly don't want him to get hurt, I wouldn't want him not to be out there doing it, and he really is living the dream. He's doing stuff that I only wish I could have done, but and maybe that gives me a second run at the whole enjoyment again,
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think, does that give you more joy than your own achievements ever could have, to see what you've been able to do for Eamon?
Yeah, here, look, I think, again, we're very fortunate that can do it. I don't know, I've really enjoyed what I've done. Obviously, the local rally, the Donegal rally, is one that has escaped me. And maybe that's just the way it's to be. I was close a few times, and I thought that, even in the current cars, that maybe I'd have a go again. Then with COVID, and I kind of stopped rallying, and I just never really got back at it. And but I believe that Eamon will definitely win the rally in his time.
Is that how you
no doubt
settle any sort of I don't know, or can you ever settle a desire to win the Donegal rally inside?
Probably not now, because I'm certainly not fast enough anymore. Maybe if nobody else took part and they drove around, but that'll be a hollow victory. Probably here, it's not one that I'll ever satisfy now. But I think what you have to realize, it's not going to be life defining either. And maybe it'd be better to be defined with the guy that didn't win it, that maybe could have won it. And will we remember in 20 years all the people who won it? No, we won't. So does it really matter? Maybe it matters to me, but it doesn't really matter to anybody else. So a bit like the Rolling Stones song, you can't always get what you want, so
but you absolutely get what you need.
And that's, look here, we've if I had gone back to that young boy in 1978, would I ever have thought I'd done what I'd done? Never in a million years. Would I thought it when I was 18? No, 28, never. I've got way more than I ever thought I would have, or I even deserved. So, you have to be somewhat content.
And what do you think your life could have looked like, or would have looked like, if you didn't rally, Donagh?
It's hard to. It's hard to say. I don't know. I always think that I always have to be doing something. I always have to have something on the go, whether it's a project. Like I'm always doing something, always building something, doing something. I just like pushing myself at times. There's lots of things I'd like to get time to do, but. So I don't really know. I would be doing something. I think I'd always be doing something kind of extreme, whether it be, I love water sports. Obviously love flying a helicopter. I love doing, I was out on my mountain bike one day. I was on my Strava to see, how fast could I get my mountain bike, and I think I got to 90 something kilometers an hour on it, somebody said that wasn't the smartest thing to do, but for me, it was, yeah, felt good about that.
The best way to be on a mountain bike, yeah.
But it's, yeah, I think I would have always been doing something, but here, I think Donegal, we're lucky. We have this huge rally and kind of community, and I even see where I live here in process. They might have rallying even in our parish, and when I was growing up, Joe McHugh was the local rally driver. Now his nephew Ryan is rallying, and Neil is prepping rally cars. There's Daniel Brasson up the road and Daniel McKenna, and there is a raft of guys rolling down. There's so many people here just locally within a mile of here that are rallying, so there's
it's a way of life, isn't it?
Yeah, there's, when you're here at night, sometimes you hear somebody test the car up the road, and it's such a brilliant county to be in. Like we took Jimmy McRae and Alistair and young Max up locally here to do the test before Donegal last year.
Yeah.
And I kind of a local area where we test the car, and I always phone ahead and say, it's always no problem at all.
Yeah.
And it's not we come up through some houses and that, so people just stay in whilst we're there. The guys were saying, is this, are we allowed to do this? And I said, yeah, it's all covered, don't worry about it. And then out, tea, coffee, buns, sandwiches, and they're kind of going, geez, this is unreal. And you have this, local people that are welcoming you to cause a bit of mayhem for a couple of hours and looking after you and making you feel like you're entitled to drive up and down this road, and we want you to drive up and down the road. And it wouldn't happen in too many other counties. It really, it's that's how special it is.
It truly is a special place for rallying. It's a special place anyway, but I think with rallying, it genuinely is the most special wee hub in the world. But one of the things that still is intriguing me, Donagh, is what you said at the beginning of our chat when you mentioned your childhood, and because the word boring just does not seem to fit with you or the rest of your life in any way, shape, or form. It's when you think back now and you talk about your life in this way, it's far from boring.
Yeah, but I think as a kid growing up, when you're in, say, national school and then secondary school, and that, I was nothing special. I wasn't the popular kid or anything like that, So I was, I was a very, very unassuming, ordinary chap, So it wasn't as if I was the kingpin or the cornerstone or the man. So I wasn't, So I look back and I don't say boring in the sense that, I was insignificant, but I wasn't. Nobody would have marked me out, oh, here, he's going to be this, that, or the other. I wasn't that type of kid, So, but.
And do you think, one of the questions that kind of always is in my mind is the chicken or the egg, and particularly when it comes to rallying. And I mean, you mentioned particularly in business, if you're talking to people that don't necessarily understand rallying, they cannot get their head around why anybody would want to hurtle themselves down the road at that speed. But do you think rallying molded you into being this person, or do you think you were always that person and you knew it and everything maybe felt boring until you were on that stage, saw Ari Batman's car and had that fire lit, and you were like, do you know what, this is in me and I'm not going to stop until I get there?
I think when it comes to business, I think it's either in you or not. I think you can, as a professional, you can be a really good accountant, you could be a really good engineer, you could be really good financer, etc., etc. I think you can't decide to be an entrepreneur. There isn't a college for entrepreneurs. There's a college for professionals, and there's all those areas for further education, etc. But I think entrepreneurship is something that's in you.
Yeah.
It's when I was driving past Joe Kelly's garage as a kid, I used to look at count all the cars, and I was wondering how many cars he was selling all the time. And that was what and when my dad would buy a building site or whatever, I'd be trying to work out, if you bought a site, how much money would you make in that? And it was very, very humble back then, but I had that
always thinking ahead.
That question, and it was kind of, and I don't know, I'm very different to my siblings in that regard, So I think that's something that's either in you or not. And then some people are very fortunate that they can achieve some success. Just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're going to be successful. And you also need a bit of luck in life, and you have to have a lucky break here and there. Some people can be very unlucky and just never get the break, So that happens as well, So, but then from the rallying sense, do I think that the entrepreneurship and everything shaped that? I don't know so much, I think that there was just that fire that was lit, that just, it's there, and it's, some people, it's football, and some, for others, it might be fishing or whatever it would be, but that their desire got ignited within me that is still there, and I was very weird as a kid. I thought, well, if you're a real die-hard rally fan, you wouldn't like football or anything else, you only could do one or the other, And, I took a huge interest in GAA later on, and you get buzz out of obviously following that. But when I was growing up, I thought, no, well, if you're rallying, that's what you're doing, and you're doing nothing else. So,
but I think that's what's fascinating, and kind of all the conversations I've had over the years with rallying and stuff, being kind of in the background or at the forefront. What you've just said has kind of hit the nail on the head, Donagh, because there's this sort of tunnel visioned focus that is with rallying, the kind of, and I mean it can be anywhere else, but you could sit down most of the time, say, and somebody could know so much about GAA but also about soccer, whereas with most rallying people it'll just be rallying, they'll have nothing else, and that's it. That there's just this single-minded focus that is incredible.
Yeah, I remember seeing Austin McHale walking into Croke Park one day, and I was so shocked. And as I got to know Austin over the years, he's a huge Mayo fan, and I think, I thought he'd only ever be sniffing petrol. He would never be sitting watching a game of football, So
exactly.
But, it's a kind of a uniqueness with rally people, that we are fairly single-minded.
Yeah. And can you tell us what your most important moment in life to date is? Or do you have one? Are there many?
I don't know. It's I can't. I'm not sure. I think there's so many events and moments that have been, I suppose, special for all different reasons, So hard to say. I kind of I enjoy life. I think life is for living. We're over at the TT races, and there's lots of people can't understand the TT, and I find it the most invigorating event to watch. That these riders who are way more extreme than the rallying world. God, they are just living. They are living every second that they're on those bikes, and they're so free, and they are so, I don't know how you describe it, but I get such a buzz out of watching that community, and just go, man, that's what it's like to be alive. That's what it's like to live your life to the full. And if you check out, you check out, and they have a different, I'd say, capacity than the rest of us, because they just live it. They just grab it and live it, and I just think it's so wonderful. I just come away from that thinking, man, that's the way it is.
And like that ability to just simply be so present in the moment, and as you say, when you're present, you are truly living your life.
Yeah. So it's and here, look, for me, I've a lot to do. I have a lot to do. I probably wouldn't like to continue to be working as hard as I do. I'd like to get on to other things. I'd love to get involved in more community type projects that where I feel that I could make some contribution to making certain things happen within our community that would be good for the future. I think that our county needs a bit of a rev in terms of really selling what we have here in the Northwest. We've done a lot. A lot has been achieved, and I know there was a consultation for the last few days about this greenway through Barnesmore Gap. I really hope it happens. It's something that I have a huge passion for. I think if we achieve our greenway from Burton Port to Letterkenny, it's another wonderful asset, and I think we need to invest more in our county and create more and more employment in the county. We have a large design centre in Letterkenny, and it's probably one of our most successful units. We've got great staff. Our churn rates are probably the lowest that we have in the country. Something that we're wanting to grow. We actually have a delegation there from Germany on Monday and Tuesday next week, because they want to use the service there. So things like that really, really give me a buzz. The rewards from seeing that kind of employment creation and value, and you see the staff, particularly in Letterkenny, they've real pride in what they're achieving, and it's the reward from that there. Like, financial rewards are fine, and we all need money, and of course more money is nice to have, but when you get rewards like that, you can't pay for them. There's no price tag you can put on that, and for me, that's what probably gives me the buzz, is watching things like that, not alone in our own county, but throughout the entire business. What we're achieving. Sometimes it's what gives you the will to get up tomorrow morning and do it all again.
Keep going. I mean, from listening to you and having the privilege to talk to you over the last while, Donagh, it definitely sounds like, to me anyway, that you have worked so hard and you've gotten yourself to a level where you've achieved a lot. But it seems to be so important to you to give back as much as you possibly can, and to, as you say as well, collect the stories and the moments, and whether it's Stables Museum or whether it's bringing the county back to kind of its full glory with these different greenways and stuff. It's about making sure that we leave it better than we got it.
Yeah, look, for me, what I would generally say to most people, and certainly to my kids, in that, if you want something out of life, you've got to put a whole lot into it, and if you want the true rewards, you've got to give, and one of the greatest things you can give to when you've walked a bit of road is knowledge. I do quite a bit of mentoring and do a lot of stuff with different businesses that come looking for advice, and that, and it's all I do it. No financial reward. That's not why I do it. But you get more out of that yourself personally than they're getting. So and I enjoy things like that, and making time is the problem. We're always too busy, and you really do sometimes have to just say, you got to take the time out to do a couple of things that may not be top priority, but they're somebody else's top priority. So
Yeah.
I think, lesson is, if you want to feel good about yourself, do something good for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the most basic things, I think, and the earlier you can learn that, the better your life will be. And just on that point, do you have a motto and do you have a favourite saying that sort of gets you through or keeps you focused?
No, but I'd have some
Ethos.
kind of principles in that's what I've always kind of stuck to. Always have a thing that if you don't have a destination, if you don't have a goal, if you don't have an end point, well, you're never getting there. Like, if you don't know where you're going, you're never getting there.
Yeah.
And some people, want to be the most efficient, the most organized, the most streamlined, etc., etc. And if you're all those things and you don't have a destination, well, you're still not getting there.
Yeah.
You may not be the most organized. You may not be streamlined, and you may be a little bit chaotic. But if you have a destination, in your own way, you will get there if you keep at it. So you don't have to be the smartest person in the room to get there. You just need to know where you're going, And so for me, that there is one of the things that, when you start any project, you've got to let everybody in the room know what you're trying to achieve. What does the picture look like? And get people to play back to you, what picture are they seeing?
Yeah.
And if they're all seeing different pictures, well, you're just not going to end up. And I like to use an analogy. Sometimes I would say that I used to say to the team at times, will we go for a drink tonight? I'd say, let's meet in Letterkenny. We'll meet at 7:00 and see, is there any questions? And most people won't ask the question. And somebody will say, where in Letterkenny are we meeting? And I'm saying, no, you've got it.
Yeah.
Because you need a destination, or else we'll all be running around Letterkenny for hours trying to find each other.
Yeah.
And it's just that basic, have a destination, know where you're going. And your destination can change as your life changes, your priorities change, things move around. You can't have a fixed goal and never achieve it because other things change, But have a focus point, have something that you're working towards. And if you are passionate and are driven, you'll generally achieve what you want to achieve. So
Agreed.
That's probably the main one.
Yeah, well, that's a good one, to be fair. I mean, Donagh, thanks so much for being here today. Just chatting with you has been the most, it's just been an incredible experience and very illuminating. And you can see that I can definitely see so many things in you that, make you quite different to the average person. And whether that meant your business soaring or it meant, the unbelievable sort of focus and dedication that it takes to go rally and to achieve the things that you have, or even with the museum, to have that sort of that looking at everything, every detail, and fine-tuning everything, and staying focused until it is a very particular way. And again, I can see how you're talking about the destination. I'm sure you saw exactly what all of this was supposed to look like, and you didn't stop until you got there. And I think it's so interesting, but also so important for people to know and see and hear the different aspects of a human being that make them able to achieve some of the things that you have achieved and that other greats have achieved, but certainly you. So from that point of view, I'm just so grateful for you sitting down and chatting to us today, and actually letting us in and helping us to understand the workings of your mind a wee bit more.
Yeah, well, here it's been a pleasure. I suppose just to closing out, as much as when you play back that, I don't know if I'll be able to get out of the room here now at the side of my head, but I don't probably don't see it maybe just as quite as remarkable as that, and I think there's none of us that don't have our flaws, and I certainly have plenty too. I'm not this rounded, perfect individual, but I like to think that I'm doing more good in life than the opposite, So I think for anybody, we all have our own way of getting to our destination, and yeah, some of us will run, some will cycle, some will take the bus, some will take a plane or helicopter. You know, once we know where we're going, we'll get there. You know, so don't be under an illusion that I'm something that's a blueprint for perfection. Far from it.
No, but it's like everything, isn't it? I think one of the things that definitely strikes me about you is that you're constantly striving, you know, to do more, to do better, to learn more, to keep learning, to keep doing. And I think if I've learned anything today anyway, it's one of those things where that's a brilliant nugget to have with you, you know, to have the goal in mind and to see the destination, but also to know that you will be learning the whole way. And
but some people, you know, get frustrated with progress at times, and I'd always say, look at where you came from. Mm-hmm. You know, have you moved at all? You know, you feel you mightn't have, but when you actually look at where you came from, you know, and sometimes when we push hard, we may not make that much progress, and then it happens. But you just have to keep at it, and then it's. And in all of those moments that the head was dropping and you thought, like, I can't do this anymore, you know, I just can't keep going, there needs to be a different way. Like, what you'll find is that, as you say, out of nowhere, whether it be 10 years or 5 years or whatever, out of nowhere, you will all of a sudden have that beautiful moment where you think, this is it. This is what all that focus was for. And then you'll forget about it and you'll move on to the next thing. The next goal will be in your mind. Donagh, thank you so much. This has been a pleasure, and I'm sure people are going to be so delighted to hear this part of you and this side of your life. So thank you so much for letting us in. You're welcome. Thank you. God bless.
This is the Irish Rally Podcast, brought to you in association with Tech and Tools, your dedicated tools provider focusing on diagnostic test equipment and specialised tools. Visit techandtools.ie for more information, and SVS Productions.